What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now today's episode, I'll be tackling all the fuel system up top here. As you guys can see in the background, I've already ordered all the parts. Everything's going to be brand new with the exception of one thing, which is the 80-pound injectors. Those I already have from my previous build. Now if you guys watch some of the previous episodes, you'll see that this thing has always been in here. Now this is more of a mock-up than anything else. I bought it, I had intended to use it, but I'm not sure what brand it is. I believe it's AEM, but I couldn't really verify. So, can't trust that with the build. So let's run down on parts. You got the Holley, the 80-pound injectors. I also have an AEM regulator. Believe it or not, I almost didn't buy this. I almost bought the one with the red. For some reason, these things are more expensive when they're all black. But, you know, gotta go with the color scheme. So I paid a little extra for that. And I'll be using a PTFE braided hose. Okay. Now this brand is, let's see here, however you say that, works. I don't know. This is the first time that I'll be using the PTFE hose, and as well as kind of using the braided line. It shouldn't be too bad to put these things together, but only one way to find out. Just move everything out of the way and start with the rail. Now I don't think I'll be able to use this one or the fitting because it actually should be a regular AN fitting without the Teflon, or not the Teflon, the PTFE. So that's one, and then doesn't look like there's an instruction manual on this thing. So I mean, all I got is the rail, and that's trash. Guessing this will be the bracket for the rail, and then that'll be the fittings. So here it is, all the pieces that comes with this kit. Now I'm surprised that this thing doesn't come with any sort of instruction, but I guess they assume that it's simple enough that you can kind of not mess it up. But I'm sure I'll figure out a way to mess that up. But based on this, it does look like it's pretty somewhat straightforward. It'll probably be here or here, maybe depending on what injectors you use. So I'm going to go ahead and put this together and then kind of test fit it there and then start on the fitting. Alright, so let me see. I got 5 parts left. I'm not going to use this cap because I'm actually going to be using the regulator as a flow through. I'm not going to deadhead it, so I'm not going to use this one. Alright, this right here is just gas. And then what I'm going to do with that is I'm actually going to soak up the O-ring on the injectors, just like that, before I slip it in there. If you don't, you'll end up having this one crushed, and believe me, that one has happened to me in the past. Alright, so I'm probably going to want to put it inside part like that. Alright, so with these 8 mounted, I'm going to go ahead and take it to the intake. Just going to go make sure that everything's lined up like that, and should just be easy push. There you go. Change your plan. Looks like this one is gonna be a problem. So I'm gonna turn the injectors all the way around. Doesn't look like I'll be able to fit it on the inside. That's alright. Alright, so quick note on this. This one has an 8 AN fitting on both sides, but this one is only 6. So I needed to get an adapter that goes from 6 flat, whatever they call them, to an 8 AN. So here's all the fitting installed. So all the fitting is in place where they need to be, and let me tell you guys what I'm going to do. So these 2 lines are the stock lines. They're going to be temporary, but I think I'm going to use them until I get the braided lines in. That braided line I want to do when I start doing the actual fuel pump upgrades. So for the time being, I'm going to go use the stock lines. So what I did here is I bought this adapter that basically can get tightened here to an 8AN fitting. I'm using 8AN there because I want the rest of the stuff to be in 8AN fittings. For the feed side, so this is going to be for the feed. Again, for the time being, this is going to meet to that, but eventually it'll be an 8AN braided all the way to the tank. The splitter block is here, and that goes into both fuel rail, and then it'll make a U-turn here, goes into the regulator, and then finally returns back. Okay. Now in the meantime, again, temporary fix or temporary use, I'm going to use the stock return, so I'm putting a 6AN, I believe, 6AN barb fitting there, but eventually it'll get converted to 8AN and then all the way to the tank as well. Alright, with that installed, now it's time to actually do the fittings. Now if you guys see here, that's all the trash. I'm actually over one fitting, which is pretty good. Well, one excess one. Alright, so here's the bracket for the fuel regulator. Now it's time to put it back on. It's going to sit something like that. So I guess with the PTFE lines, what you need to do is actually draw this out a little bit. So I'm going to push the braided lines out of the way. Trying to be careful not to poke myself with the braided lines. Can get pretty sharp there. Forgot to put this in. I'll go this way then. Maybe that's enough. Alright, looks like it's in there. So I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, but instead of using the wood to keep the fitting in place and not damage it, I should have just used electrical tape to kind of cover the thing. Like so. The disadvantage of using the wood is I felt like because it kind of collapses on its own, I was putting way too much pressure on this, which kind of, I don't know, the fitting was kind of getting collapsed in. And as another precautionary measure, because this thing has little dimples there, I'm gonna go ahead and use some aluminum piping that I have here, or some aluminum flat bar. There you go. There you go. So you guys can see no damage to the fitting. Now unfortunately this is the last one I'm doing, and I already did a bunch of them like these, which you guys can see I kind of damaged it a little bit. It's not a whole lot, but just little dots here and there. So here it is, guys, all the fuel lines fully complete. Now I gotta say that the fuel lines is a lot easier to work with than the power steering line. That one was pretty painful. Now the downside to working with a fuel line, however, is they do have, let me see if I can show you guys. Now the braided line on this is really sharp, so be careful with that one when you guys work with it. I actually poked my thumb a couple times there. Now another thing, this was the one that came with the fuel rail. I'm actually going to go ahead and use this one as a temporary mount, because what I was gonna do originally is I was gonna make a temporary line that goes from here to the feed, but you know, we already have that right here. So alright, so this is gonna be for driver's side. Alright guys, let's talk about the return and the feed here. Now if you guys notice, I'm using the stock one. That's because I want to start working on the harness for the engine. I've never done the standalone harness, so I don't really know how to go about it just yet. And when I do the wiring, I want to be able to try to fire it up and see if the wiring is correct. I've never done it before, so that troubleshooting part is going to be crucial. So as far as the actual permanent part, as you guys can see, this Y block right here is going to be permanent. It's going to be on here when I get the feed and the return coming out of this block right here. So that is why it's there. And then everything else from there all the way to the regulator is permanent. Now the barb fitting will get turned into a 6AN, or sorry, an 8AN fitting that goes to return right here. Alright, so that is it guys for this episode. As you guys can see, I tried to make it as sleek as possible. I did go all black just because I want to be able to hide everything. Alright, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.